Many people aren't teaching their children to value the protection and the seclusion of home, but they should. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, and building strong family relationships, all through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about home culture and how to teach your children to value it. In this video, we're going to be talking about our home cultures. We're going to talk about seclusion, if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because that does kind of sound negative, doesn't it? But what makes good seclusion and how it can actually benefit our families while also still reaching out into the world, so don't worry about that. We're going to talk about key things that you can do to create an environment where your children want to be there and they value the protection and seclusion that family gives. It used to be that a person could go to school or go to work and then come home and life would completely shift. It would be all about family because that's all there was school and then family, or work and then family. And occasionally you might turn on that little box in the corner to listen to some music or maybe watch a television program. But that was not the point of life. Nowadays, because we are so plugged in every way, everywhere we go, we're plugged in the car, we're plugged in at work, and then we're plugged in at home. It's constant. We are actually missing something in our society, and that is the seclusion that comes with home. Home should be a safe place. In fact, I always say it should be the safest place to make mistakes. But if it is going to be the safest place, it has to be different than everywhere else. And if we're plugged in all of the time, then we are not ever truly home. We're always somewhere else. So one of the key things that we can do is watch our digital attachment, especially at home. I know that many people think that staying connected online helps them connect with their children. That could be true, but if you don't have a real connection with your children outside of digital connection, then that could actually be a potential problem for your relationships in the future. People that you see eye to eye with, that you look into their retinas, that you see them and you feel them, those are the people that are always going to have the biggest impact on your life. So don't just be in the same room, look at each other. When I talk about teaching children skills, I always say that the first step is to look at the person. That's for parents and for children, so that they can have a moment of bonding, a moment of connecting. Your eyes are the windows to your soul. You need to look at each other. So if your eyes are the windows to your soul and you are always looking at a screen, what does that mean? It's a problem. So we need to seclude ourselves a little bit more within the family, within the home. We need to push some of those other things out in order to properly protect ourselves from the emotional onslaught and the identity onslaught that is just being pushed at us. We are under attack, absolutely. There are dark forces going after our children sexually, as well as trying to make them question who they are, their value. We have a lot of emotional health, mental health needs that are impacting our children as well as parents. And it's because we are not having the connections that we need. We are not having the time that we need with our family. Seclusion provides that. Years ago, I decided to do something weird, and I want to tell you what that weird thing is. But before I do you see that button that says subscribe? Just go ahead and click it. You will find a lot of great videos after you click that button. So what did I do that was weird? Well, for some people nowadays, it's not so weird, but at the time I did it, it was really weird. I decided 27 years ago that I was going to homeschool my children. Some people call me one of the pioneers of homeschooling. I definitely was not. There were people who were doing it before me, and I was standing on their shoulders. But I decided to homeschool my children. And I did this because I wanted a certain type of a family culture. I wanted my children to be best friends with each other, not somebody else's child, even though I did want them to have friends. So don't get me wrong, I wasn't trying to pull them away from everybody, but I wanted to be the primary influence in my child's life. I wanted to teach them all of those valuable first lessons. I wanted to be the one who would talk about current events with them and help them see what needed to be seen so that they didn't get the wrong message from somebody else who has a different agenda than I might have. I wanted to be the mother of my children in all things, as that teacher even. And it ended up being such a great and positive experience for our family that all of my children want to homeschool their children. They are all grateful that they were homeschooled and have told me so. Every single one of them has mentioned to me that they are grateful that I made them weird, that I made them different. But do you know what part of that difference was? It was secluding them for a time from all of the messages in the world that are just meant to challenge and distract and destroy who it is that they were born to be in my family. There are a lot of messages to sort through, and if you don't know who you are, which is formed in the family, in fact, I have a whole video just about that I'll tell you about at the end of this program. Your identity is formed in the family, and if you don't have enough time with them, you end up confused about who you even are. Or if the family doesn't recognize that they need to help you form that identity. Well, I did, and I worked deliberately at that, and my children became very secure people, very confident, stood on stages, did all types of artistic things, athletic things. They taught people things, skills even, of how to do parenting. They were on television programs. They've done so many things because they were confident in who they were. They knew someone was there for them and always had their back. And so they could step out and do anything they set their mind to. They also had a lot of great friends. They didn't have every friend there was to have. They didn't need to deal with everybody's junk. When I first started to homeschool, I went to a conference. And at the conference, there was a speaker. I don't remember his name. I remember what he looked like. Sadly, I can't remember his name, or even if he's still alive to this day. He was an older gentleman. But he said, homeschooling is not about isolating your children, it's about insulating your children. And I was like, that's true. But then he went on to say, but in order to properly insulate them so that they're prepared for whatever they happen to encounter, at first you might have to isolate them. You might have to pull them away from some of the things in the world to prepare them so that they can process the things of the world through a healthy lens. Boom! I was blown away. I'm like, that's totally true. That's totally true. And then parents tell me all the time, well, the kids have to have a cell phone because otherwise they won't know how to exist in the world. Well, the kids have to be online because otherwise they won't. Well, they have to be with all those kids. Otherwise they won't know how to handle society without it. Actually, that's faulty thinking. They need to be with family a lot. Be secluded with their family. Be protected by their family. And then they will be ready to be with anybody because they'll know who they are and they won't be able to be shaken. They'll be strong. So how do you help your children to appreciate this protection and this seclusion? Let's talk about that. The first thing is they got to know who you are and where you're going. As a family, do you have a plan for what type of family you're becoming? Do you have a family vision? That's something I talk about in my TSG parenting course, creating a family vision. I also talk about in my book, Roles, I talk about talking deliberately about the roles that you have in the family and how important they are and why you need to live a certain way in order to honor those roles and maintain them. Then you also need to have a plan for how you will open up to each other and discuss with each other. I actually have a whole video on this channel all about having good open communication. That video is called Home is a Place Where Confidence should be Exchanged. And I talk about setting up that environment. So talk is key. Discussion, making sure that everybody is not just talking about behaviors and things that go wrong, but they're also talking about their lives, things they care about, virtues, principles, things they believe in. Have the deep talks, Talk about the media, talk about politics, talk about religion, talk about all the deep things. You're forming the child after all. You should be discussing all of the deep things. And then do fun family things together. Have family activities on a regular basis, at least once a week. Have a good family activity. I talk about great ways to set that up. And then teach your children adult skills that they need for life. Help them mature emotionally and physically. Help them become emotionally strong people by teaching them key skills of self-government, like how to follow instructions, how to accept no answers and criticism, accept consequences, disagree appropriately. Teach them how to correct themselves and accept it, and how to accept your corrections too. Teach them that it's okay to be part of a family and to be taught and instructed and corrected. If they can be okay with that in your family, then they will be able to protect themselves later when they need to instruct and give no answers and correct themselves as adults. Teach them values and principles. Be honest with them about who God is, that He's there, and that He has a pattern for how we should live our lives. Be brave enough to suggest strong values. In my TSG parenting course, I talk about creating what I call a family standard. These are standards to live by for your family that hopefully will help your children want to live by those through the rest of their lives. Family should be the place that lays the framework, the pattern for how they want to live their adult lives. And they've got to love it. They've got to feel invested in it. So have family meetings where they can discuss with you, where they can help make the rules and the plans for the family. I talk about how to do that too. In fact, I really would like to tell you about one video I promised to share with you, but also where you can find more about all of these things that I've been listing, like these skills that you can teach your children. That video is called Home Should Be the Happiest Place for a Child. So click on that video if you want to see that. But if you want to learn more also about the skills and principles of self-government and how to correct them in a way that's positive and unifying, then you'll definitely want to also go and see the full class on this channel called The Not So Known Secret for Parenting Success. So click on one of those videos. Either one's going to lead you to a good place, but hopefully you'll find yourself learning all of the skills and principles of self-government. And I will see you on the next video.